T.rex, Hunter or Scavenger, by Dr. Thomas R. Holtz, Jr., illustrated by Michael Skrepnick. Chapter 1. The Kingdom of T.rex. T.rex as a scavenger. This time is 66 million years ago. The place is the vast forest that will one day be the western part of North America. Striding briskly through the woods, a big Tyrannosaurus rex, or T.rex for short, sniffs the hot air in search of its next meal. The T.rex is the largest meat eater alive at this time. Its name means king of the tyrant lizards. Over 40 feet long and 13 feet high at the hips, no other flesh-eating dinosaur around comes close to it in size. A big meat eater like that needs an awful lot of food to keep it going. This T.rex is hungry. It's been a couple of days since its last big meal. The T.rex stops walking. It smells something on the wind. It is the delicious scent of rotting meat. Crashing through the bushes, the T.rex follows its nose to the source of the smell, the dead body of a duck-billed Indomintosaurus. T.rex's mouth waters. Rotten Edmontosaurus is its favorite food. The kingdom of T.rex is full of delicious dinosaurs for the eating. There are duckbills like Edmontosaurus, horned dinosaurs like Triceratops, fast-running Ornithomimus. There are dome-headed Pachycephalosaurus and armored Ankylosaurus, long-necked Alamosaurus, and a lot more. All of them are food for Tyrannosaurus rex. T.rex. Take a bite out of a giant Alamosaurus. With each bite, the T.rex rips off a chunk of the Edmontosaurus meat and bone. T.rex is a messy eater. Pieces of Edmontosaurus go flying in all directions. The smell of blood and rotten meat attracts others to feast. First flies and other insects show up. Then some meat-eating lizards and a few Archaeoraptors, or raptor dinosaurs. Most of these animals wait for the T.rex to finish eating. No need to make the big guy mad, but a few dash out of the brush to grab its scraps. None attempts to steal the carcass from the giant Tyrannosaurus. The raptors who arrive at the scene are relatives of the vicious Velociraptor of Mongolia. Archaeoraptors are deadly, but these raptors only weigh about 30 pounds each. The T.rex's 5-foot-long head alone is much larger than an entire Archaeoraptor. And then suddenly, the T.rex stops eating, lifts its bloody snout onto the wind, and smells something. Something in the forest that's coming closer. It is the one thing that a Tyrannosaurus rex fears. Another Tyrannosaurus rex. It must eat quickly, or risk losing its meal to the newcomer. Did a scene like this ever take place in the kingdom of T.rex? Probably. Could the scene have begun a different way? Absolutely. For example, T.rex is a predator. A hungry T.rex is striding through the forest. It smells something on the wind. It is the smell of its favorite food, fresh, juicy Indomintosaurus. The T.rex follows its nose to the source of the smell. A herd of Edmontosaurus browsing in a clearing. They are big, 3 tons or more, but the T.rex is bigger, and the tyrant dinosaur is downwind. Duckbills don't even know it's there. The T.rex charges, the Edmontosaurus scatter. One unlucky beast makes a wrong turn, and the T.rex catches up with it. It bites the Edmontosaurus on the hip, ripping out a giant chunk of flesh and bone. The duckbill falls to the ground and struggles to get away. Rip. T.rex bites down and tears off another huge chunk of meat and bone. As the Edmontosaurus becomes still, the T.rex begins to feed. Chapter 2. Hunter versus Scavenger. We know from the shape of its teeth that Tyrannosaurus rex was a meat eater, but without a time machine, we can't be certain how the T.rex got the meat it ate. Many kinds of animals eat meat, from shrews to killer whales, garter snakes to crocodiles, mockingbirds to condors. Meat eaters, called carnivores, come in many shapes and sizes. All carnivores eat other animals, but not all carnivores kill the animals they eat. Those that do kill their own food are called hunters or predators. Those that eat carrion, or the bodies of animals that are already dead, are called scavengers. Lions and hawks are examples of hunters. Brown hyenas and vultures are examples of scavengers. We can watch present-day carnivores and see how they get their food. But what about extinct or no longer living carnivores like T.rex? Tyrannosaurus rex died about 66 million years ago before humans were alive, so no person ever saw a T.rex feed. Chapter 3: Science of Paleontology. Paleontologists are scientists who study fossils, the remains of ancient animals and plants preserved in rock. Dinosaurs like T.rex are known only from their fossils. All scientists use observations about the world around us to try and answer questions. Paleontologists, for example, look at the fossil remains of ancient creatures to try and answer questions about how they lived. One question that paleontologists have asked is whether Tyrannosaurus rex was a hunter or a scavenger. But because no human being has ever observed a living T.rex, we can't answer that question for certain. Many people think T.rex is one of the most interesting dinosaurs, if not the most interesting one, and many have the strong feelings about how they think T.rex lived. Paleontologists look at bones like this T.rex skeleton in order to figure out how extinct animals lived. Maybe they think that the T.rex was too scary looking to be a scavenger, or maybe they think it was too big and bulky to be a good hunter. Science, however, doesn't work by feelings. If we really want to answer a question scientifically, we have to put aside our feelings. Instead, to do good science, we have to look at the evidence or clues that we can find to help answer the questions. That evidence might show that our favorite answer is correct. It might show that our favorite answer is wrong. It might even show that there isn't enough evidence to choose between the answers. Let's try to answer the hunter-scavenger question by looking at the evidence found in fossils. Chapter 4: T.rex, the Scavenger. Some paleontologists think that T.rex could not hunt. They think that it was strictly a scavenger. They base this idea on their own observations of its bones. What are their observations? Its eyes were small, so it probably couldn't see very well. The smelling part of its brain was so huge it probably sniffed for carrion like a vulture. Its arms were too tiny to catch food. Its teeth were built for crushing bones, not for slicing meat. Its legs were too short for it to have to run fast. In science, a good question is one that can be answered by looking at evidence. Let's see if the evidence really supports this idea. Chapter 5: Beady eyes, dino brains, and dinky arms. Look at the skull of Tyrannosaurus rex. At first glance, it looks like the space for the eyeball is really small, especially compared to the rest of the head. Some paleontologists think that this would have made T.rex's eyes too beady or small to see well. But in dinosaurs, as in most animals, the size of the eyes compared to the head changes as an animal gets bigger. To see what I mean, compare a baby's head to a grown-up's or a puppy's head to an adult dog's. Baby and puppy eyes are bigger compared to the rest of their heads than are grown-ups and adult dog eyes. T.rex eyes face forward so that they could focus on the things right in front of them. As humans grow from kid-sized to adult size, the eyeball only grows a little, but the skull grows a lot. If we measure the size of the eyes of a grown-up person or adult dog, we find that their eyes are bigger than the eyes of the baby or the puppy. The skulls in the older animals have simply grown bigger, causing their eyes to look smaller. The same thing happens with dinosaurs. When we look at fossil skulls of babies and adult duck-billed dinosaurs, or a young and adult T.rex, we see that the eyes of the young dinosaurs look big compared to the size of their smaller skulls. But if you measure the young dinosaur's eyes, they are in fact also smaller than the adult eyes. So T-Rex didn't have beady eyes. In fact, the eyeball of an adult T-Rex was almost as big as a softball. In modern animals, a big eyeball often means good eyesight. This suggests that the T-Rex had very good vision. Same applies for T-Rex. When it grew from the youngster to an adult, its eyes only grew a little, but its head grew a lot. Paleontologists have studied the shape of the brain inside the skull of Tyrannosaurus. We know that the part of the brain that controlled its sense of smell was enormous. In fact, it was bigger in T-Rex than in any dinosaur studied so far. Different parts of the brain control different functions. This part of the brain is also very big in vultures, which are scavengers. So some paleontologists think that T-Rex acted like a vulture. That is, it sniffed around for carrion to eat. But just because T-Rex had a good sense of smell doesn't mean that it couldn't hunt. After all, wolves have an excellent sense of smell, and they are definitely hunters. Being able to smell a living dinosaur would have been just as helpful to a hunter as being able to smell a dead dinosaur would have been to a scavenger. So the size of the part of that brain that smells does not help us answer the question one way or the other. What about those small arms? T-Rex had very short arms for its size. In fact, its hands couldn't reach its own mouth. Paleontologists who think that T-Rex was just a scavenger say that its arms were too short to have been useful in hunting. Paleontologists who think that T-Rex was a hunter agree that its arms were useless in hunting. But just because T-Rex couldn't use its arms to attack doesn't mean that it wasn't a hunter. After all, modern predators do not all hunt the same way. Lions, tigers, and other big cats attack by first grabbing their victims or prey with their arms. They then kill them with their teeth and claws. But wolves and spotted hyenas hunt using only their jaws. These hunters have powerful skulls and teeth that let them tear at or grab onto the prey without using their arms. Eagles and hawks are hunters whose arms have changed into wings. Snakes are hunters that have no arms or legs at all. So there are many hunters alive today that kill other animals without using arms. Just because a T-Rex didn't have long arms doesn't mean it wasn't a hunter. It just means it didn't use its arms to hunt. Chapter 6. Bone-crushing teeth and bite marks. The teeth of most meat-eating dinosaurs were shaped like steak knives. They were flat on each side and had cutting edges with little bumps called serrations on the front and back. Like a steak knife, these teeth were built to cut and slice their meat. The teeth of T-Rex and its closest relatives, the other tyrant dinosaurs, were different from knives. Tyrant dinosaurs' teeth had serrated edges, but they were rounded on each side like bananas and not flat. Tyrant teeth were not like steak knives. They would not have been good for slicing through meat at all. The differences between typical meat-eating dinosaur teeth and tyrant teeth went even further, into the bone that is. In most carnivorous dinosaurs, the crown, the part of the tooth sticking out of the jawbone, is about the same size as the root, the part holding it in the jaw. But in tyrant dinosaurs, the crown is only half the size of the root. So T-Rex and its relatives had teeth that were very firmly held in place. Some paleontologists say that without steak knife-like teeth, T-Rex couldn't have been a hunter. They think that banana-shaped teeth were good only for crunching the bones of dead dinosaurs. They believe that the meat on the bodies would have been sliced off by the animals who really killed them. Most paleontologists agree that T-Rex had bone-crushing teeth. In fact, we have found partially eaten Triceratops and Indominatosaurus bones that clearly show T-Rex tooth marks. We even have a piece of fossilized T-Rex poop full of broken bits of dinosaur bones.
Ew.
Still, we can't tell from these fossils if T-Rex was scavenging carrion or had killed these animals and then eaten them, bones and all. There is evidence, however, showing that a T-Rex was able to attack another living dinosaur. This is a fossil or a fully grown Indominatosaurus found in Montana. Near the base of its tail there is a big bite mark. The shape of the bite and the marks of the teeth in the bone exactly match the jaws of T-Rex. But what is special about this bite mark is that the wound on the bone had partially healed. Only a living animal can heal, so we know that at least once a T-Rex bit a living duckbill. Monarch hunters often failed to kill their prey. This was probably true of T-Rex too. Does having bone-crunching teeth mean that T-Rex was only a scavenger? Almost certainly not. After all, the most famous bone-crunching carnivore today is the spotted hyena, which many people mistake for a scavenger, but which is really a very active predator. So instead of using its arms to attack its prey like a lion or tiger, T-Rex used the power and strength of its jaws and teeth like a wolf or spotted hyena. Because T-Rex teeth were thick like bananas and had deep roots, they could hold on to struggling prey without being as easily snapped off as snake teeth. T-Rex may have had useless arms, but its jaws and teeth were very dangerous.